Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Updaters webinar on Boost Resident Retention with Engaging Events. Okay, we are really excited about this conversation today, and I'm going to tell you why. Last November, Updaters shared a blog post called 34 Best Resident Ideas for Apartment Communities. You can check it out at the bottom of this page, updater.com/blog/resident-events-ideas. In that, we had some really great content, but because it was so popular, we got such great feedback, we wanted to take it a step further, and so we decided to craft this webinar for you. So in that process, we wanted to reach out to our friends at SatisFacts to get more information on the topic. What we found was so interesting, we asked them to join our conversation. So today, we'll be discussing why resident events are important, ways to develop successful events and programming, and how they lead to resident retention. Okay. In that conversation, the SatisFacts survey pointed out a couple of things that we really wanted to talk about. Some top 5 drivers, and we're going to discuss those in detail. But before we get started, we want to introduce ourselves. Again, my name is Greg. I am our resident vice president with Updater. I've been in the multifamily industry for about 20 years. I'm super excited about it. I started out on site for about 5 years. I was a regional trainer in sales and marketing before I went to the associate vendor side. And I've been with Updater about 2.5 years. I love what I do, and I love producing content like this that adds value to our clients and partners. That being said, I want to introduce you to my cohort. You've got Patrick. Patrick, tell us who you are.
Yes, thank you, Greg. Hi, everyone. This is Patrick. I am a client success manager here at Updater. So I work with all of the property managers and site teams across the country that we partner with to make sure that they get the most out of our technology. And I work with them on different ways to succeed as a team on site. So I've been with Updater for just about a year, also in the multifamily industry for just about a year. So I'm super fortunate to be amongst great company here with Leah and Greg. But interestingly enough, I come from a tech background, and I recently worked prior to Updater at an events and ticketing company. So I'll bring a little bit of a different perspective in that sense, but I'm super excited to be here today, and thank you guys for joining.
And last and certainly not least, we have Miss Leah Smith, and she's a VP of Education and Client Performance with SatisFacts. Leah is, when we started this conversation with her, she added so much value that we really asked her to just be part of this conversation that we shared with you today. So I'd like you to introduce yourselves and tell us, or tell the crowd about SatisFacts, what they do, what value they add, and tell us about the survey and these drivers we're going to be discussing. Leah?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me. It's always great when we can collaborate with other vendors in our same space and just kind of get some good ideas going. I am working with both SatisFacts and Apartment Ratings. SatisFacts is the survey arm of our company. So we survey your residents, your prospects. We also survey employees because we really want to know what drives performance, what drives satisfaction. Apartment Ratings, you all are probably very familiar, is the review platform that we have where your residents and your prospects can go online and talk about their experience with you. I'm really happy to be here, happy to share any information that we have, and hope that it's useful for all of you who are attending today.
Okay, Leah, this matrix comes from your most current survey. Can you walk us through this? What are we looking at right now?
Yeah, this is a timeline of an analysis that we do. We used to do it once a year. It has now evolved to 2 times a year, and I'm going to explain why. Back in 2013, we gave Ball State University about 1.6 million surveys, and we wanted them to help us determine what does it take, for a resident to stay another year and pay more for that second or third or 10th year at the community. Well, Ball State, after analyzing all of the data that we gave them, took about 6 months or so. They come back and they tell us perception of value is the #1 driver for resident retention. Okay, sounds great, but what do we do with that? We all know that value is one of those, it's a concept. We have things that we gladly would pay more for because in our eyes it's worth it. We also have stuff that there's no way we're going to pay extra because it's just doesn't seem, necessary. Maybe it's paper towels, I don't know. So we went back to Ball State and we said, okay, we need you to give us the concrete drivers, top 5 for perception of value. Back in 2013, these are the top 5 drivers. It goes from sense of community, because we're looking at most important, #1, all the way down to community appearance and condition. So in 2013, residents were really focused on sort of like the brick and mortar aspect of a management team. If something breaks in my apartment, does it get fixed, and is the repair solid, or is it going to keep breaking over and over again? If I call the management team and I have a question, do I get an actual person on the phone as opposed to a voicemail? Do I think they're responsive and dependable? So these residents back in 2013, they were really concerned about how well the management team performed and how well they manage the actual community. Well, residents are evolving, and as the years have gone on, their needs have evolved as well. So going into, let's just start with 2015. 2015, we start to see neighbors pop up. Hadn't seen it before. 2016, here comes community events. So that now has come into the top 5. And with that, things like maintenance have fallen off the list. Safety and security have fallen off the list. So 2017, this is the latest analysis, and we actually analyzed them again at the beginning of January, and they have not changed at all. So sense of community is #1, social media is #2, apartment appearance and condition #3. Events have now gotten stronger. They're more important than they were, and neighbors are still in the mix as well. So as these brick and mortar type functional elements of a management team have started to become less important, residents are now reflecting more on the experience of resident life at the community. Not surprising for us when we also track the percentage of residents who say they're going to be in their apartments for an extended period of time. Back in 2013, only 25% of residents said that they plan to be in their homes at least 3 years, just 1 out of every 4. And that's pretty typical because you do have your residents who kind of, 1 year in and they're out, or they may decide to renew, but having a very firm idea, firm plan in mind that I'm going to stay put for 3 years, we didn't see a lot of that back in 2013. Well, transition all the way up to 2017, residents now, it's at 48% say that they plan to be in their homes at least 3 years. So for a resident, if the intent is to stay longer, they're turning their attention to other needs, the things that really make a place home for them. This isn't a temporary place while I, get my finances back on track, because we were seeing a lot of that in 2013. This is a place where I'm laying down roots. I want to grow here. I want to start my life here. Again, going back to a lot of millennials being renters. So really now residents are focused on the experience. So this is a great opportunity for management teams to turn their attention towards what is the resident experience here, and things like events, neighbors goes a long way to really developing that sense of community, that connection that your residents are telling us they want.
I think that is all super fascinating, especially considering that we're not looking at a big window of time from 2013 to 2017. And what I find interesting, especially in this last year's survey that you're sharing with us, is that everything on that list is a lifestyle item. And when you think about, for years in the apartment industry, we've been trying to sell and promote and convey that sense of lifestyle. Yet from 2013 to 2017, it appears that the residents are now buying it and also expecting it from us to provide.
Yeah, I think back then in 2013, if we were pushing stuff like the events and the parties, you're not going to move as many of those residents, right? You know, the ones that just aren't quite sure what they're going to do from year to year. Throwing a fantastic pool party back in the day wasn't going to really do it for them. You know, you had to look at stuff like, you know, the apartment home, how the community looks, you know, that whole sort of sense of pride in the community. Now residents are saying, I want a sense of connection. I want to feel connected to where I live. The pride follows the, you know, the way they feel about the management team is going to follow as well. One thing that we do point out to our clients is that maintenance, being responsive and dependable, all of that stuff is still very important, but it's only important to your residents when it doesn't work. So
Right.
if, you know, if maintenance is hit or miss, or if I tend to get voicemail more than I get a live person, that's when it starts to impact perception of value. But just right up front, I want to feel like I'm the most important person here, and I want to feel as though the management team wants me to be here. And so again, going back to things like events, going back to the whole social aspect of living at the community, that's where the residents are right now, and that's absolutely where management teams should focus their energy as well.
Well, I love that Updater and partnering with companies like SatisFacts can bring this content to our partners in the industry. And I think that one thing that just strikes me is just really interesting is that the community events has increased dramatically. And back in the day when I was in the apartment, on site in an apartment community, I have to ask myself, why do you think it's so important to them if they don't all attend the events? I don't
Yeah,
think
and
events have gotten more popular. I mean, more attended. They just seem to be more important.
Yeah, and I'm right in that same boat with you. I was in charge of the event calendar. You know, so you spend all this time thinking of great fun things to do. You have this budget that you have to make work with the event, and then you put on the event and maybe 10% of your resident population shows up, if that, right? Or it's the same 10% over and over again. Well, what we're finding, and we know this to be true, residents by large think events or feel events are very important, even if they don't participate in them. They're watching you. They want to see what you're doing, where that money's going. Are you spending the money wisely? Are you just kind of, throwing together any old kind of event to say you're having an event? So even those that may not choose to participate, they are still watching what you do.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. So to drill down deeper into that, community events were broken down into 3 different categories based on resident value, and those are going to be frequency, variety, and quality. So what we would like to do as a collective is we want to go through each of these, move through these categories while focusing on community events, and let Leah kind of shed some more light and insight into each of those, and to give us a better understanding of why that's important and how we can make it better and how we can connect more with our residents. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. The first driver, or driver number 1, is frequency. That is going to be quality and quantity of events. Okay. Now, before I get started, I do want to share that, ultimately for me, that the quality of the goal of this successful resident event is going to get people to show up, i.e. attend, but also to actively participate with one another and to share what they have in common. Matching demographics with interest is the first step. It can be a challenge to pull off a great event if you don't know who your residents are or what they're into or enjoy, right? So if you don't know, I say just ask them. A great place to start could be to survey your property or do a quick poll via social media, to see what they're looking for. And in that conversation, I can't help but think it'd probably be easier to ask multiple choice questions as opposed to fill in the blank questions, as opposed to what did you like best about the last event? Or would you prefer a food truck by the pool or potluck dinner during the big game, right? We do want to add that I am a huge proponent, proponent of mixing resident events with outreach marketing. I think those go hand in hand in every category. I think you're going to get more bang for your buck. So in all of your events, try to focus on getting as much property exposure as possible. I know the resident events are about our current people, our current tribe, the people we have living there today, but also think about who you want to attract and who you may want to have living there tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Inviting your residents to bring a +1 to an event can actually help with your attendance, because you may have residents that would love to come out to the pool party, or they'd love to come out to that springtime barbecue, but they just don't want to come by themselves. They don't really know their neighbors, they would feel much more comfortable if they were able to bring a +1. And again, on the outside looking in, if I'm a resident who never participates, but I'm checking you out anyway, and I
Right.
usually see 30 people at your community event, and now there's 60 people there. I
Mm,
might be a little bit more interested to check it out the next time, actually go myself.
yeah.
So again, we have this sort of social proof mentality. If everyone's saying this is a great event, or I see other people coming out, I see more people getting involved, I might just jump on that bandwagon.
I get that completely. Okay, so one way to do that is to focus on one major event per quarter. We polled and they said that they were looking for one event per quarter because they want to see, or they want to approve how their rent money is being spent, like you said, Leah. But I don't think that is to say that they only want one, or one event. So in addition to your planning of a big event, you can also do a lot of smaller ones that tap into common interests for your residents, like, I don't know, running clubs that meet up at the mailbox, or maybe even play date times for your tot lot. But Lee, what else can you think we can do that may be an event that may not require a lot of energy or expense on the part of the office team?
Yeah, there are things, look at what your residents are into. If you find that you have, you guys have just maybe redone your landscaping, or there's great flowers that are blooming, they're out, today, Friday is photo day, everyone go out, take a photo of, what we have going on, post it to social media,
Nice.
maybe something like a video contest where your residents, you put buildings together, building 11, this is a contest for you, so that they all work together. There's a lot of little things that you can do that don't require a lot of work. It's just providing your residents with that opportunity. We're going to have a walking group on Thursday at 6 o'clock. If you're in a walkable type of community, you're just telling them, if you like to walk, show up at 6 o'clock. You don't have to walk with them. It would be great if you did, but you don't really have to lead the event. It's just making those opportunities available for those that have common interests.
Got it. I love it. Okay, so now I want to talk about emphasizing annual events. Annual events can really build on past successes and create a sense of tradition, and I think they're paramount and big. Functions like community gardens or carnival days, holiday events, community service activities, they can promote longer term residency, which is what we're all looking for. Even those one-off days like National Pancake Day, those really resonate with people. And you can also hop on the hashtag bandwagon with those national days, and that really extends your reach. So annual events can really make something feel like home, which is what I think we're talking about.
If your residents are going to stay, if they plan on staying at least 3 years, think about that. That's 3
Yeah.
pool parties, 3 holiday parties, and annual events are fantastic when you keep them guessing. I
Right.
wonder what they're going to do for the next pool party, or remember last year's holiday party? I wonder if this year's going to top it. I bet this year's going to top it. Give them something to look forward to every year. As their rent goes up, their expectations go up, and they want to see an elevated quality. They want to see an elevated level of variety, because I'm giving you more. I want you to give me more in return. That's kind of, what your residents are thinking.
I love it. I mean, mine, as you were talking, I kept thinking, okay, so I came in first place last year at the ugly Christmas sweater party. This year, I'm going to crush it. This is when I'm going to start planning it now in June, and I'm going to blow everyone else out of the water. So those traditions.
Right. Or I came in second.
And I'm not doing it again.
No way.
I'm winning. First place is not for me. That's for losers. If you're not winning, you're losing. So yeah, I mean, that kind of, ignites that competitiveness in you and kind of it gives you something else to be excited about. So I get that completely. Okay, so we all are busy. Not all of us have big teams with which to work. So people, I say keep it simple, right? I mean, lean, small teams need simple solutions. I don't know, things like potluck dinners, pet adoptions, book clubs, or my personal favorite, I love Postal Pub. And let me tell you what that is. Postal Pub is when you put your service teams and set them up by the mailbox or in the package room with a cooler of root beers, sodas, beer if you can serve it. I'm using air quotes, people. Check with your company policies. I don't want to be that guy. And also serve like chips and pretzels and nuts, and then let them take service requests from your residents as they're coming home. I think this is super simple and it is always appreciated. And guys, please don't forget that your maintenance team and the service they provide is a big reason why people renew their lease. Leah?
Absolutely. And if you're going to do the Postal Pub, pick Junk Mail Wednesday, the day that the
Yay!
junk mail gets delivered, whatever that day is, Junk Mail Thursday, I don't know. But when that junk mail gets delivered, station your maintenance team out there. I promise you will not have residents throwing that stuff on the ground. They will put it in the trash can if they know the maintenance team is sitting out there. Definitely keep it simple. We know we know
And
a
keep it
lot of
clean.
yeah, keep it clean. We know you guys don't have a lot of you don't have big budgets, you don't have big, a lot of manpower, and sometimes that can be the detractor to having an event just all together. You
Mhm.
just can't. You have so much to do. I have a client who every year they partner with two other sister communities to do like this massive garage sale or yard sale, and all their residents know about it. The communities know about it, and they're roughly within a 5 miles, less than 10-mile radius of each other. And so they have the general public that goes out from community to community shopping in like this flea market or yard sale fashion. So you can partner if you have the luxury of having a sister community close to you. Think about some joint events that you can do together.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the second driver, which is going to be variety. So I'm going to call on my buddy Patrick to give us some insight in this and some other items.
Absolutely.
Patrick.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Leah. Yeah, I think, Leah, I think you said it perfectly here when it comes to variety, right? How do we provide residents with really diverse and really innovative choices for the types of events rather, to attend and things to do inside of these events? Every year we don't want our residents going to the same pool party, the same holiday party over and over again. You said earlier, I believe, that the amount of people who plan to stay with their community for at least 3 years has skyrocketed, nearly 50%. So if they're staying for 3 years, we need to make sure we're giving them variety of really what's important to them. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, and one of the first things, guys, that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of variety was featuring your brand at your event, right? I work with community managers, as I mentioned, and site teams across the country. And one thing I'm constantly hearing, or I find teams are constantly wondering, is how they can incorporate the brand of their community or their management team into different aspects, not just events, outreach, marketing, events, things of this sort. Now, my recommendation for you guys in terms of events would be to really take more of a programmatic approach to this, right? To align your events with variety. Look at the calendar year, identify milestones, events, holidays, things of that sort that can really be a jumping point for your quarterly events, and then take those ideas and consider really contextual branding opportunities for each, right? So one example I like to use, think about, let's say, National Puppy Day, right? March 23rd every year. I hope everyone knows that. If you're a pet-friendly community, maybe you want to have a pet appreciation event on National Puppy Day. And at this event, you could then consider offering co-branded or community-branded pet treats, collars, puppy swag, things of that sort. So you're using this kind of calendar of events for the year programs, and then using those ideas as a creative jumping point for your brand. Now, if you're hesitant, again, to splurge on one-use branded items, consider what elements could really be low cost or reusable, right? Like a pop-up display, napkins, cups, things like that can be used at events throughout the year. Now, Leah, did you have any other, I know you do, I know you have ideas on branding and as relates to variety for some of our teams that are joined today.
I think my only piece of advice would be to consider your the personality of your brand. You know, if you're this like laid back, you know, kind of community where it's, you know, it's hip and, you know, there's a lot of fun stuff going on, you want to incorporate that into your events as well. You may be a very corporate type or executive level kind of community where most of your residents are, you know, business people. I don't know, and it's more formal. So your events should echo that as well. You don't ever want to do an event because your competition did the event, you know, or because you're trying to be something that you're not. If you want to resonate with your residents, that brand personality has to connect through everything that you do.
That is such great advice. I agree. You want the event to feel authentic and to feel relevant to the residents at the community and of course to the team's identity as well. So thanks for that. Now, next thing I want to talk about, guys, with variety is utilizing social media. So this was a value driver of its own, but I really think that these value drivers aren't mutually exclusive. They kind of bleed into one another. And social media could be a really strong way to not only market your community online, but to provide variety with in-event participation, entertainment, and content creation. So one thing I've heard where they always say is that if it's not on Instagram, if it's not on Facebook, it didn't really happen. So make sure you are utilizing social media when it comes to variety for your event. Now, to start, as I mentioned, your events can be a really, really great opportunity for content creation. And what I mean by that is that all of your events really should be captured. It could be by a professional photographer. Maybe you have a great iPhoneographer on your leasing team, or one of your residents can help out there. But put an inquiry out, see if anyone is up for the gig. Photos from the event can and really should be shared on social and even distributed to residents via email. Now, that content is great, but another awesome option when it comes to social media is to consider the use of hashtags to do a few fun different things, right? You can use it to aggregate content and share that as well, but you can also come up with a really fun, relevant hashtag that's reflective, as Leah mentioned, of the personality of your community, or even use, if it's relevant, a contest using a social media hashtag, right? With a reward for your residents that attend. So there are so many options there in terms of social media for promotion and in-event stuff. Leah, I'm curious if you have some stuff to add here about social media as pertains to events.
Yeah, one idea, you know, best resident selfie at an event. I mean, who doesn't take a
I love
selfie,
that.
right? And they get a big group together, they take a selfie, you know, have a certain hashtag that they're going to use, you know, that you tell them to use, and you give a prize away. When we did our social media study this past January, we asked residents, you know, for those that were engaged on social media, why do you engage? You know, what are the things you're looking for? Number one was community events and news, what's going on. Number two is contests. So let's combine the two, you know, put those together and get your residents involved. Video is huge on social media. Have your residents, you know, take a quick 30-second video, upload it to your social media so that those who are not participating get to see all the fun that they're missing. Again, maybe next time around, they'll choose to participate.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now, next up, guys, finally with variety, it's so important that we are collecting and applying the feedback of the residents, the people that attended, so we can continue to really show them that you know and understand and can provide what's valuable to them. Remember, the goal here is to really ensure that residents feel that their money is going towards what matters most to them, that it's going towards creating that experience, that sense of community. And really the only way to ensure that is to ask and collect for feedback. So be sure when it comes to your events to set specific goals, whether it's for attendance, engagement in a social competition, and be sure to implement ways to measure these items during and after the event, right? So take attendance, create a survey if that works for you for your event, have a post-event team meeting to collect internal feedback of what they heard or what you guys could do better. And last but not least, always be sure to iterate, right? No event, nothing in this world is perfect, so implement the changes based on those feedback to identify what worked well for your residents and what they want to see moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. That was some great information. I appreciate the content. The final driver that we have to talk about today is going to be quality. Prove value to the residents. We're going to talk about doing that through a sense of community. If everyone will just think back a minute from that first matrix that Leah shared with us from SatisFacts, if everyone remembers what was the top item from 2013 to 2017, as far as a top value driver, it was sense of community. And guys, I will tell you, I've been in the industry probably since dinosaurs roamed the earth, but I've been in the industry so long that I know that since apartments were invented, every time we ask people, the focus groups, through surveys, anytime we ask people what they're looking for in that perfect apartment home for them, what is important for them, they're saying consistently every single time, it's a sense of community, right? And I just want you to know that a sense of community starts the time that they see the community, tour the community, hang out with the community, and then ultimately what we're talking about now is connecting with the community. Patrick has some great information about branding. Your community is a brand, and how are you conveying that sense to them, right? I think it starts by recognizing that your community is bigger than your property. So consider looking at your greater community and or neighborhood when planning your events. Think outside your property boundaries. Think outside your gates. Think outside across, what's on the neighborhood, what's across the street. Look at restaurants. Look at renovated parks. Look at things that are going to possibly create some excitement. Like I said earlier, I'm here in Atlanta, and one of the things that is just launched our market is axe throwing. Yeah, you heard me. You now can get together with some of your closest friends, get together, maybe have a cocktail, and you can toss an axe. That sounds like it would round up any week or any hostile experience you've been having, alleviate any stress. So things that are fun, make things fun. Think about who your people are and who you're talking to. And again, ultimately, who we want to connect with. So that being said, I just wanted to thank my co-host, Patrick and Leah, and I wanted to ask if they had any following closing thoughts that they wanted to share. Patrick, do you have anything for us?
Just wanted to echo you here. Thank you all for joining today. Hope it was helpful for you, and special thank you to you, Leah. We really appreciate your insights that you've shared with us and with everyone who joined today. So thank you guys, and thank everyone else for their time as well.
I think this was a great session. I hope that anyone who's on the call, you got at least one idea, one thing that you might plan to do differently, or maybe just a different way of looking at how you're positioning your perception of value or sense of community, or even just encourage you that a small team, you can still do a really great event. So don't let that hold you back. So Greg, thanks so much for allowing me to be a part of this today.
Oh, you're most welcome. I just want to say again that I appreciate everyone taking the time to participate with this. Again, thank you so much, and catch you next time.